My name is Sir Yacht, and I'm on a mission to interview every Cleveland Browns starting quarterback since 1999. We know their names, and we've seen them struggle. But do we know their side of the story? This is Since 99. For our first episode, we're heading down to Lexington, Kentucky to talk to the quarterback that started it all, Tim Couch, first of 30-plus starting quarterbacks for the Browns since 99, probably the most iconic. For me, this is a huge honor because in 95, when the team moved to Baltimore, I was still filling up diapers. So I have no recollection of that team. So we come back in 99. They pick you first overall.
Right.
So for me, you are the Cleveland Browns. You're like my first ever memories of being a Browns fan growing up. So truly, thank you very much for the time. Appreciate it.
Awesome, man. I'm happy to be here. It's I can't believe it's been that long ago, 1999 when I came into the league. So time sure flies by.
All right. So before we start this interview, I want to go through a few true or false questions just so the people watching on YouTube can get to know you a little better. So we'll start off with a hard one. True or false? Your name is Tim Couch.
True.
All right. Off to a good start. All right. True or false? In high school, you played against country recording artist Chris Stapleton.
True. A couple times.
You helped him write Tennessee Whiskey.
I wish I could say true, but that's false. Yeah.
Do you have any musical ability?
Literally none.
That's okay.
I feel like I can sing really good. I'm in the car, but my girlfriend and my kids tell me that I actually can not sing whatsoever. So.
Growing up, you frequently hung out at Goofy's Pool Hall in Hyden, Kentucky.
Facts. It's true.
How was that place?
It was cool. We didn't have many other options where I grew up. We had a Dairy Queen and a pool hall. So the pool hall at least had some pool tables. You could shoot some pool while you're waiting on your food. So hung out at the pool hall.
True or false? Your two sons, Chase and Brady, you first thought about naming them Leather and Comfy.
False.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably a good choice. We got two more. First, you would go half and half with me on owning a furniture outlet franchise called Tim Couch's Couches.
I'd have to see the business plan, but there's possibility.
All right. That's actually better than I thought. I thought it would be a direct no. And we'll see. All right, and the last one, your first love originally was not football, it was basketball.
That's true. Growing up in the state of Kentucky, it's a huge basketball state, and Kentucky had some really good teams back then when I was growing up, and certainly wanted to be one of those guys who come to Kentucky and played basketball. But kind of football just kind of guided me in a different direction, and luckily it did.
At what moment were you like, oh, I could really do something with football?
Yeah, I liked football, but I didn't love it. I loved basketball. I was always working on basketball, always shooting. I was one of those kids that would literally just go to the gym and just be there for hours and hours and hours. I couldn't get enough of it. And the only reason I played football is because of my brother. He was a quarterback, and he was 4 years older than me. And he was like, man, you can. It's unbelievable how you can throw the ball for a 10, 12-year-old kid. He's like, you got to play football. And I didn't want to play. And finally, they talked me into it. And then my freshman year, my first game that I ever played in high school, I threw 5 interceptions in the first half. And I came out in the second half and threw 5 touchdown passes. So I remember I was in the locker room, and I was almost in tears because I hated it so bad and I was so miserable. And I told my coach, I'm like, after the game, he's like, what's wrong, man? I was like, I can't play this sport. I'm not any good at football. And he goes, what are you talking about? I was like, man, I threw 5 interceptions. He goes, yeah, but you threw 5 touchdowns also. he goes, shut up and start, just work harder. So after that point, I started really liking football and just started having a lot of success with it.
Did you know that in 2003, ESPN ranked you the 6th greatest high school athlete of all time?
Yeah, I saw that, and obviously pretty cool honor, man. There's some amazing athletes
like
on that list.
Like LeBron and Tiger Woods.
LeBron and Tiger, yeah.
For a guy who didn't like
Kareem
football.
Abdul-Jabbar is
yeah.
on there.
For a guy who didn't like football up until.
Yeah, I would say my sophomore, junior year is when I really started to, have a passion for football. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
You going through your decisions, you end up choosing Kentucky over colleges like Tennessee, Florida, and Penn State.
Right.
You wanted to come to a program that was not established, like Kentucky.
Yeah. Like you said, coming out of high school, I was the number 1 recruit in the country and had offers to go literally anywhere. And but my dad, and there was a lot of influence for me to stay in my home state and play at Kentucky. My dad was a huge Kentucky fan.
Or going into the NFL, you finished that junior season, you decide that you're going to forego your senior season and go to the draft. What were those emotions like? Did you know that you were going to possibly be the number 1 pick?
Yeah, I knew that I was going to be, a top 2, 3 guy, something like that. I really wanted to stay at Kentucky, to be honest with you, because I was having so much fun, and I loved playing for Coach Mumme, And just the fan support here, me being a home state kid was just amazing. And I loved my time at Kentucky. And Cleveland being the number 1 pick that year was a big reason I wanted to come out as well, because that franchise is just so historic. And Bernie Kosar, and I grew up watching Bernie and the things that he was able to do with those great teams. And I just loved that, the history and the tradition of the Browns and the passionate fan base that they had there. And I thought it'd be so cool to be a part of that.
Do you have the poster?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Look at that.
I remember that one.
Look at that handsome fellow.
Yeah, that brings back some good memories there.
What memories does it bring back?
Just that whole process. I would say that's what it takes me back to. That you've been built up, all through high school and all through college. And once you declare for the draft, everybody starts trying to break you down a little bit, right? Well, you can't do this or you can't do that. You're like, have you guys seen the film? Watch what I did against Alabama or LSU or any of these guys.
What were the pros and cons that people were saying?
Oh, they were talking about everything from the way I grip the football to to everything. I'm like, the ball comes out of my hand pretty good.
Speaking of that, you go from a non-established college program, and then a non-established program chose you. So what was it like getting the call from the Browns saying, hey, we're going to take you first overall in the draft, our first ever pick?
Yeah, it was amazing. Like I said, to be the face of that new Browns franchise, because the Browns have been out of the league for, I guess it was 3 years or so. Was it 3 or 4 years? And then came the Baltimore Ravens. So the fans were so hungry to have their team back. And then for me to be the kind of the face of this new Browns organization was an unbelievable opportunity, man.
You went from being relatively, broke college kid to overnight, millionaire or whatever. What was that first paycheck? What did you spend it on?
The first thing I did was I retired my parents and paid off all their debt. And then I did, the stupid stuff. I bought a Bentley. And, the things that exactly what you would do if a 21-year-old, somebody hands you millions of dollars at 21 years old. Like, first thing you think of is, I need a Bentley.
So you come to Cleveland and you see yourself on every billboard around the city. You are the face of this new look Browns, this new franchise that has come in. You're the face. What was that like, getting into the locker room with the guys, meeting everybody, meeting the coaches?
But I got to Cleveland, man, and it turned up like 10 notches. The media hype and like you said, just the first time I went to downtown Cleveland, I drive down there and I see my face on the side of buildings, and and like I'm everywhere, and it's a little overwhelming for a 21-year-old kid. That's what I've worked for my whole life. I'm like, okay, I'm here. This is what this is like to be an NFL quarterback. And but just going around to dinners and being downtown in Cleveland and running into the fans, man, it was. I could feel their passion.
Yeah, what was that energy like?
Oh, just through the roof, man. You could see the excitement in their eyes, man. And they were just like, we're back. I can't wait to go to the games. We had a brand new stadium that was going to open up that year in '99. So it was just so cool, man. I had nothing but great memories.
So let's go to your first game. Ty Detmer starts, but I believe you came into the second half. So all these emotions, all this hype, all the things we just talked about. What was that like getting on the field? You can practice as much as you want. There's nothing like the game. What was it like being under center for the first time, like, oh my God, like I'm in the game?
We're not going to play you your whole rookie year. That's what they told me. The plan was for me to sit the whole season. So we played the Steelers the first game, big rival, and they just beat the shit out of us. I mean, we're down 40-0. And coach looks at me in the third quarter, goes, you want to go in? I'm like, we're down 40-0. What do you mean to do, man? So they put me in the game, and I just remember looking over there, and the Steelers had this great defense. And, my first pass in the NFL was an interception. And I just remember dropping back, and it looked like guys were going 100 miles an hour, just flying all across the field. And I threw one, it got tipped up in the air, and they picked it off or whatever. And then I went over to make the tackle, and a couple guys drilled me on the Pittsburgh sideline, knocked me into the bench, and I was like, okay, I'm here. This
welcome
is
to the NFL.
Welcome to the NFL moment right there. After the game, Coach Palmer comes up to me. We're playing the Titans on the road in week 2, and he goes, you're starting. So the plan for me to sit the entire rookie season went out the window after about a half of football. So
your career is such a testament of perseverance. The amount of concussions, injuries. I believe you said you thought you had a few in college, maybe 4 in the NFL, and then 2 shoulder surgeries, foot, leg, thumb. What kept motivating you to come back and keep going?
If I could walk, I was playing, and that was my motto. That's the way I felt. And I took a lot of hits, and I think my rookie year, I got sacked NFL record 56 times in 15 starts. So I was getting beat up a lot, and a lot of hits, a lot of big hits. But I took pride in getting up, and I think guys respect you for that. I think They see that, you know, we're struggling a little bit as a team. This guy's taking the hits. He's taking all the pressure in the media. He's taking all the questions of why can't we win? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? So I wanted to be a stand-up guy. I think that's part of the job of playing quarterback, especially in the NFL. It's your job to not point fingers and to, you know, take the blame. And that's just the kind of way that my mindset was, and that's how I played the game.
You have a very, very good memory. Did you just have a lot of milk or vegetables growing up, or like?
Maybe. I don't know how I have a good memory. I've been hitting the head a lot, so I do have a pretty good memory somehow. But it's useless information. Like I can remember, you know, games from 20 years ago. I can tell you the down and distance time on the clock, what blitz they brought, what coverage it was.
All right, so let's just say that Titans game, week 2.
Okay. Yeah.
What was going on in that game?
I remember my first touchdown pass. I called it in the huddle. Actually, we're on about the 50-yard line. And it was my first touchdown pass, and I came to the huddle, and Palmer called the play from the sideline. I came in the huddle, and I said, if you guys give me time to throw, I'm throwing a effing touchdown right here, just like that. And they all kind of looked at me like, you're calling a touchdown from the 50-yard line? I said, give me time to throw, and I'm throwing a touchdown. And so we come back, throw a play action, and Kevin Johnson's on a deep post route, and he's pretty covered, to be honest with you. There are 2 guys on him, but I somehow dropped it in there, and they're all kind of looking at me like, how'd you know you're going to throw a touchdown? I'm like, I don't know. I just kind of felt it. So
I remember that game, week 5 against the Ravens, very, very vividly because, like you said, the fans did boo, and then I believe you got a concussion diving for a ball, and the fans were cheering, and I remember turning this so vividly. I remember turning to my dad, and I'm like, Dad, why are they cheering? He's injured. Like, we shouldn't be doing this. And it was, for me, like, I wasn't able to process it, like, with you having a concussion,
right,
and then hearing that after working your ass off, like all this stuff. I couldn't imagine. It was weird to process.
Yeah, that was one of those times that you know, like you said, I'd been with that franchise since day one, literally. And I'd taken the hits. My body was beat to death, and I was getting up, and I was putting my body on the line, and we were finally winning games. You know, I was playing well, and you know, we're making a playoff run here, and then we're playing the Ravens on Sunday Night Football, I think it was, and we're down on our goal line, and the center snaps the ball over my head, and I run back to get it. And as I turned around, I was going to try and get out of the pocket and throw it away. And as I turned to pick the ball and turn around, I think it was Ray Lewis and I think it was Ray. Somebody hit me in the side of the head, and I blacked out. I don't remember anything. And I was out for a little bit on the field, and then go to the locker room. Obviously, don't play the rest of the game. And then they put me in front of the media, which they shouldn't have put me in front of the media right after a concussion. Like, I wouldn't have said what I said and how I said it if I would have talked to everybody on Monday after the game. But right after the game, just got hit in the head, concussion, and they're asking me these questions. How'd you feel when the fans were cheering when you were laying there hurt? And I just went off. I mean, I was still hot about it. But I was not in a right mind to be speaking like that. I really wish they wouldn't have put me out there and would have given me, you know, a little time to cool down and stuff. But yeah, that was the one moment, you know, really the only moment that I had in Cleveland where, you know, the fans were, you know, there was some, you know, we clashed a little bit, but other than that, man, it was all good. But that moment was, it was a pretty bad night.
I would have reacted the same way. I probably would have actually reacted worse,
yeah,
much worse.
I mean,
so
you know,
I think you handled it very well.
Football's an emotional sport anyway, and you know, you're out there, and you know, back then the rules weren't like they are now. I mean, they were drilling us. You know, now they can't even hit the quarterbacks. You know, they changed the rules after I was done. So, you know, they were beating us to death, man. And you just feel like you're out there and you're putting it all on the line. You're working your ass off every week, studying film, putting in all these hours and hours. And then, you know, I think for an athlete, the thing that bothers you most is when you feel underappreciated, you know, because you put so much of your life into it. You know, this isn't something I just started working on, you know, this year. I've been doing this since I was 10 years old. You know, I've been trying to be a professional athlete my whole life. And now you're there and, you know, you didn't feel appreciated. And that's, and like I said, it's emotional. It's an emotional game. You put a lot into it. So sometimes you can lose your cool.
Positive, though, because the Browns made the playoffs. Obviously, last game of the season against the Falcons, I believe it was your leg that you broke and you were out. Had to be, I mean, really cool that the Browns got the playoffs. I mean, a lot of that due to you, but obviously sitting on the sideline for that game in the playoffs against the Steelers, after putting all that work in and coming back from a concussion, had to be a little tough.
That was tough. That was the toughest part of my career in the NFL because I'd been through all the bad times, and you know, I'm having a great year. You know, we were playing the Falcons the last game of the year against Michael Vick at home, and if we win, we're in. And I think we're in the third quarter. I think we're up 14-7 or something like that. And I threw a pass, and I really didn't get hit. Like the guy came, and as I was throwing, my cleat kind of got caught in the ground, and he spun me around. And as my foot got caught in the ground, and he spun me, my leg just snapped. And I thought I'd maybe just kind of like sprained it a little bit. And I played a couple other plays after that. And then I tried to. I told Bruce, I gave him like, don't call a pass play. I can't feel my leg. So I need a couple of plays. I thought it would go. I'd walk it off. So it got to third down, and he called a pass play, and I went to put my foot in the ground to throw, and I just kind of fell down. So I went over to the sideline, and they x-rayed it, like, no, your leg's broken. And then the team goes on to win the game, and obviously it was, very, very emotional locker room. We're in the playoffs, and the way we won it, too, with a goal line stand and William Green breaking that long run. So it was really cool, but it was also, for me personally, it was very emotional because I'm like, damn, man, I've been through all this. Now we finally made it to the playoffs, and I'm not going to get to play in the playoff game. So that was the toughest moment in my career.
And I think that if you were in any other situation, if you were drafted by anybody else, or if the situation was different, your career would have panned out differently. We're talking, because a Hall of Fame career. Do you feel like that it would have been different if you were drafted somewhere else?
I do. I honestly feel like I could, if not still play. Brady came in the league the year after me. I feel like I'm still in great shape. I feel like I could have still play, or just recently retired.
That's the thing. The people that cheered his injury, the people that cheered him, say it to his face now. Look at him. He's jacked. Good luck. Come here and do it. Yeah, let's see you do it. Anyway, sorry.
No, when I got drafted, obviously as the number one pick in the draft, I thought I was going to play at minimum 15 years in the league. I mean, at worst. And I was going to be one of those guys, like football was who I am. I love football, I love the game. I was going to be one of those guys they would have to drag out of the league. I was going to play until they kicked me out. Unfortunately, after 2 shoulder surgeries, I couldn't throw the ball like I used to anymore. After I went to Green Bay and had my first shoulder surgery, I came back from that, and I ended up in Jacksonville. I was in training camp with Jacksonville, and I'm out there trying to throw just like basic routes, man, like routes that I could throw in my sleep with my eyes closed, and the ball is like bouncing in at guys' feet. I'm like, something's not right. And, and that's a hard pill to swallow for somebody as an NFL quarterback, and you have a lot of pride in what you do, and you still, mentally feel like I can play at this level, at the highest level, but your body's saying, no, you can't. You're throwing hitch routes at people's feet right now. So I knew I wasn't the same person anymore, the same player, and I just had to kind of accept that and move on to the next chapter.
What was life like after the Browns, after the NFL, kind of finding your identity into, life past football?
That's a great question. I think a lot of athletes that I know, a lot of my friends, a lot of people struggle with that. Because, like I mentioned earlier, you put your whole life into this thing. You've been doing this is what you've done since you were a kid. So I didn't know who I was other than I'm a football player. I'm a quarterback. That's the only thing I knew about myself. So when I retired, I was in a pretty dark place, to be honest with you, for about a year, because, I'm sitting there watching games on Sundays, and I'm like, how the hell is this guy playing? I should.
Well, how old were you at the time? 27?
27. Yeah, 27. And and I'm like, now I'm starting to feel pretty healthy again. I got to be out. I got to be back in the league. So it got really, depressing watching games. I couldn't watch football for a year or so, and because I just felt like I didn't have an identity. I didn't know what to do with myself. My life had always been so structured. As an athlete, you're on this time schedule. Like, I got a meeting at 8:00. I got lunch at this time. I'm gonna work out at this time. I got practice this time. I'm gonna do media at this time. We got a game this day. Like, I had been so structured my whole life, and now I don't know what to do with myself. So, and I wasn't doing real well mentally at that point. And then when my son was born in 2005, that kind of got me back on track, because I had a purpose again. Like, I'm dad. I got to be a good dad. So that kind of got me going back down the right path. But that year off was it was tough to I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know who I was. So
yeah, what's it like being a dad? Like coaching up your sons to play the sport that you were really, really good at?
It's awesome, and the best thing about them playing sports is I've never pushed it on them. I was never going to be one of those dads that said, you better go work out, you better do this, because my dad never did that to me. I think if you're not self-motivated, if it doesn't come from within, it's not real. It's never going to work. If they ask me, if they say, Dad, will you go help me work on this, or teach me how to, work out, or teach me how to, do this or do that, I'll stay out there with them until the sun goes down, all day long. But I'm never going to say, hey, let's go out and throw, or let's go out and, work on something. I want it to be their idea. I want it to be their passion. But it's great to watch them play, man. I'm at every game. I think I may have missed maybe 2 games ever since they were born, and since they started playing sports.
You've learned so much in your NFL career. You've been through so much. What's like the biggest piece of advice you gave to your 2 boys, of something you learned about when you were on the Browns or in your career?
The biggest thing I tell them is, I want them to be a good person, first and foremost, because at the end of your career, like my career, I've been done for 15 years now, people, they remember you as a player, but they're going to remember you more as a person. How did you make them feel when you met them? Do you remember their name? Did you shake their hand? Did you look them in the eye? Did you take the time to sign an autograph for them or take a picture? Those are the things that people are going to remember you for in the long run. So I want to be a good person first and foremost. And then secondly, I tell them, you don't have to play football. You don't have to play any sports. I really don't care what you do, but you're going to be passionate about something. I don't care what that is. You're going to have passion about something. You're going to wake up every day and work towards a goal.
What is something that you want people to know about Tim Couch, the legacy of Tim Couch? What's the thing you want people to know or remember about you?
I think probably just from where this thing started for me. I grew up in a town of 350 people in eastern Kentucky. I came from literally nothing. My thing was, I know that I'm big, I'm talented, and I can throw the football, but no one's going to outwork me. My mindset was, if I'm the most talented and I'm the hardest worker, then I'm gonna go to the top.
We don't have to make a comeback today, but I would be honored if I ran some slant routes. I'm not going to run too far, but maybe we could throw the football back and forth on Kroger Field.
Sure, let's do it. Yeah.
Right. Did you ever play Madden growing up?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did you always play as yourself?
Yeah, we used to have big Madden tournaments at my house.
Was it always Tim Couch? Like I'm playing as Tim Couch?
Yeah, I had myself out there, even though we probably weren't the best team to play with.
You know yourself best, so this is how you use Tim Couch. I'll be Kevin Johnson. You be Tim Couch. That feel be easy.
Far west right slot, you short, pass 96, you counter gap, keep left, fullback slide, X smash on 1. Ready?
Wait, what?
Set. Nice.
I won't run the touchdown. I'm tired. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, that was
Thank
fun,
you. It was
man.
an honor meeting you. Seriously.
You guys heading back to Cleveland today?
We are. What are we gonna do? Were we gonna do something here before?
I feel like I can't believe this just happened.
Ty Detmer, you're next.